What even is the undead curse? Or maybe it would be smarter to ask, why even is the undead curse? It might seem like kind of a stupid question. The undead curse exists in the story for a reason. It has a role to play in these games. But I think that role is a little less defined than it might seem. Throughout the entire Dark Souls trilogy, the undead curse is seen as an affliction that robs us of our humanity. Nowhere is that statement more true than in Dark Souls 2, a game that places significantly less emphasis on the cycles of fire and shadow than its predecessor or its successor, in favor of a story focused intently on the undead curse. And at first glance, Dark Souls 2 is a game that reinforces our understanding of the undead curse. The role we take in the game is that of a human succumbing to the curse, and whose final hope for breaking it, for holding on to their humanity, is the fallen kingdom of Drang Lake. But on closer inspection, the role the undead curse plays not only in the story of this game, but the first and third games as well, becomes a lot more complicated. I think it's important to be conscious of what exactly the undead curse takes from people, and in what manner it does so. The end result of the undead curse, the final form its victims take, is that of a hollow, a creature that simply is. It does not think or feel or live, it just continues. But the curse doesn't function like a light switch. It doesn't flick on and then everyone is a zombie. It's gradual, painful. Because of that, we're able to observe the process of hollowing. And that's valuable because it helps us understand what, in the world of Dark Souls, makes someone a human in the first place. Often these are the same qualities we value in the real world. Our relationships, our memories, our achievements and hardships, the place we grew up in or came from. I could go on, but I think you get it. These are games about people, and they were made by people, and because of that, the people in the games feel like people. They're defined in much the same way we are in real life. But that's kind of strange, isn't it? It is true that people in Dark Souls are an extension of people in the real world. That is why we call them humans. But the humanity we find in Dark Souls is very explicitly wrong. It's broken. This isn't what a human was supposed to look like, or be like, or act like. This is a human in the wake of Gwyn's linking of the fire.
In the past, humans were one with the dark. The former king of light, he feared humans. Feared that they would usher in an age of dark. How queer you humans. How you go on, never separating truth from fiction.
What humans were supposed to look like, exactly what shape the world would have taken if the fire faded when it was supposed to, no one knows. But we do know that it wouldn't look like this. But this is the world that we got, and the one that humans got, and that they are consequently defined by. When the undead curse appears and strips their lives away, these are the things that it takes from them. And that makes sense as an audience because we believe in them as fundamental parts of being a human. These are what define us as individuals and as a people. But in Dark Souls, these things are not human. They were not meant for humans. The sunsets and memories do not belong to us. They're just holdovers from the Age of Fire. The parts of you the undead curse strips away are anything but human. If a human has come to be defined by the fire, what is left of a human when the fire is gone? This is not a human, not really. This is what humans have been reduced to in the wake of the fire linking. Humans broadly no longer seek the dark, and have come to define themselves by the very same things as Gwyn. When he linked the fire, Gwyn erased what humans could have been. Humans don't exist in a vacuum, they exist in the aftermath of that choice. And for better or for worse, they have become defined by the Age of Fire. Something I've mentioned before on this channel as a certified Gwyn sympathizer is that while Gwyn's decision to link the fire did, in a sense, keep humanity from attaining power, it wasn't really that simple. Because when he linked the fire, whether he wanted to or not, he handed the entire world and every part of it that he cherished to humanity. And this bears out in the rest of the trilogy. After the first game, the gods with whom Gwyn presided over the world are gone. Drangleic is just ruled by people. Lothric is just ruled by people. And no, that fact does not absolve Gwyn of guilt, nor am I saying he did the right thing. It's true that he gave humans the world, but that choice also shackled them to an eternity of servitude to the First Flame. And the purpose of the dark sign is obvious in that it gives humans, who from Gwyn's point of view might otherwise be incentivized to let the fire fade, a palpable incentive to ensure that it does not. It's coercion, plain and simple. But it's worth noting that the first hostage ever taken by the fire was Gwyn himself. The Lord of Sunlight he may have been, but despite being called a god, he had very little power in the end. Power over people, certainly, but over the world itself, none at all. When the fire began to fade, Gwyn was as helpless as anyone else. It was all he could do to burn himself to ash. That's no more and no less than the Lords of Cinder who followed him. However you feel about Gwyn, the point I'm trying to make is that when he linked the fire, the order of the world did pass on to humans, just not in the way it was supposed to. Instead of carving their own path, humans took up the mantle in Gwyn's stead. As a result, humanity became defined by that mantle. The humans we see in Dark Souls are as much a reflection of Gwyn as anything else. And I think that's why it's so often and so ironically said that Gwyn may have been the most human character in Dark Souls. That's true whether you view him sympathetically or as a power-hungry tyrant, a lust for power or the fear of loss. Both are things that many consider core to the human identity. In Dark Souls, their qualities embodied, more than anyone else, by the former Lord of Sunlight. In the wake of Gwyn's decision, humans have come to be defined by the very same fire that consumed Gwyn, and that fire threatens humans in much the same way it threatened him. That's by virtue of the simple fact that it's going to fade. The effect of that, I think, is kind of obvious. All of the things that humans value, the world around them, the world in which their relationships form and their ideals are born and in which they find meaning, will cease to be, at least in the sense that it will no longer offer what it offers them now. Everything that means anything will disappear.
All men trust fully the illusion of life. But is this so wrong? A construction of facade, and yet a world full of warmth and resplendence. Now, hello, are you intent on shattering the oak, spoiling this wonderful falsehood?
As Aldia puts it, the world around us is like a stage. It's full of props that don't mean anything on their own, but when you shine a light on them, they start to look like something concrete. And when you put actors on the stage, they move around and interact, and you get something that feels meaningful. But eventually the stage lights will turn off, and you'll be left with a bunch of shapes, void of contrast, a bunch of confused actors with nothing left to do. The blank space in front of them looks no different than the person beside them. Every part of it, every prop and every costume and every person looks the same. The audience is long gone, and there's no one left to perform for. But these actors will be here forever. The world Gwyn left us with is that stage, and it's lit up by the first flame. But sooner or later, the fire will go out, the lights will dim, and everything that made that stage mean anything will vanish. This is a world defined by fire. It is one that cannot end, not really, not in a way that would give us closure. This world cannot truly be nothing. All it can do is mean nothing. And when everything means nothing, what shape do humans have left to take? What else could they become, if not hollow? Men were cursed with or without the dark sign. The world around us, around humans, is a stage. It is a facade lit up by the fire. It is, at the end of the day, an illusion. We will never know what humans could have looked like, what they should have looked like, because of Gwyn's choice, because of his sin. But this is what a human is. This is what a human does look like. It is a creature that cannot truly be separated from the fire, because just like Gwyn, the fire is the only thing it understands. This creature's life is an illusion, and it doesn't take a curse to break it. You just have to dim the lights.
Seeker of fire. What do you see in the flames? No matter how tender, how explicit, a lie will remain a lie.